Welcome into NBA Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Chase Sr. Coming up, an NBA News and Rumors Mailbag, where we take all of the viewers' questions during our live show on Monday. But first, if you don't get your question answered during this mailbag, or you just have a question about anything pertaining to the NBA, hit me up on Twitter and Instagram, slide in my DMs, give me a follow, at Chase_Senior. We start off this mailbag with this question coming in from Win-Win Peter. Do you think if Westbrook does not work with LA, he can be traded for a point guard to match his contract like Dame or somebody else? I don't think that Russell Westbrook can be traded for Damian Lillard because there wouldn't be equal value there. And if Dame does get traded, that signals a rebuild for the Portland Trailblazers. So why would they want to rebuild with an aging player in Russell Westbrook who, yes, still averaged a double-double last year, but is starting to get a little bit older as he progresses in his career. So I don't think a Russell Westbrook for Damian Lillard trade is realistic. I also think that LeBron James, general manager for the Lakers, in addition to Rob Pelinka, jokes, really wants to play with Russ. He facilitated that trade for Russ to be sent to LA from Washington, D.C. So I think they're going to try to see how this works and if it works for the majority and the entirety of this upcoming season. Bronze Ben Simmons chiming in with this. Did you see Evan Mobley in the gym with Steven Adams? I didn't see that clip. I watched a lot of Evan Mobley during the NBA Summer League, and I came away very impressed. I've long said this about Evan Mobley. I think he has the potential to be the best player in this 2021 NBA draft class. No, I really like Cade Cunningham, really like Jalen Green, love Jalen Suggs. Scotty Barnes has shown me a lot as well. Evan Mobley, though, has so much modern-day value because he can guard all five positions, and I think as he continues to develop and bulk up, as he continues to advance his offensive game, he's going to develop a little bit of a shot. You saw that a little bit in glimpses during the NBA Summer League, but this guy on both ends of the floor has the potential to be an all-pro caliber player. Content YT, is LeBron the best conference finals player ever? Look, LeBron James for me is the second best player in the history of the NBA behind Michael Jordan. And if LeBron James is able to win, let's say 2 or 3 more championships, maybe he overtakes Jordan. Now, I personally wouldn't put him ahead of MJ because I thought MJ was just completely built different. But let's pay respect where it's due to LeBron James. The dude came into the league in 2003. 2003. And he's still one of the best players in the NBA on both ends of the floor, offensively and defensively. And I still think that he can still play at an MVP caliber level. If he didn't suffer that high right ankle sprain last year, he could have won it. And I'm really excited to see what LeBron does with this rejuvenated Lakers team that is somewhat older but very experienced and talented. Sam Slips, it's time. Talen Horton-Tucker breakout season. Yeah, he got the payday. 3 years, $30+ million for THT. You look at his numbers last year, 9 points per game, 2.5 rebounds. I always kind of compare him to a shorter, mini-sized Draymond Green because I think he brings a lot of the same elements to the floor that Draymond does. He's a thicker body. I like his defensive upside. If he can become just a little bit of a better and more consistent outside shooter, I think THT could be a very good player. And he fills a couple different needs for the Lakers. Youth presence, a guy who can create a little bit, stretch the floor. He's one of the lone young pieces on this roster. I'm not sure he's going to have a breakout season because the Lakers roster is so stacked, so he's not going to have a bunch of opportunities to put up huge numbers. But he's only 20 years old, and I really like how he's developed over the last couple of years. Speaking of the Lakers, let me ask you this. Are the Lakers too old to win a championship? It's been a big debate throughout this offseason. Type Y for yes, type N for no. Get your votes in. I don't think they're too old. I think the lone focus for the Lakers should be and has been on 2021, 2022. They shouldn't look ahead of that because they don't need to. You have LeBron James. Maximize this window to win a championship right now. $5 super chat coming in from Kay. Thank you for supporting the show. Where do you realistically see the Bulls at in 3 years after they win back-to-back rings? Well, if that happens and they win back-to-back rings, they're going to have an opportunity to form and continue a dynasty. Do I think the Bulls are title favorites going into this season? I don't. They have a lot of questions for me defensively. Offensively, though, they're going to be an NBA league pass team. They're going to be a team that you want to watch on national television. Lonzo Ball, love that signing. DeMar DeRozan, very good offensive player. Zach LaVine is a walking bucket. He can go off for 30, 40 every night. Patrick Williams, great draft pick in 2020. Nikola Vucevic, is he a winning player? We'll see. Bulls certainly have a lot of ammunition. Another $5 super chat from Darbuckle11. Should the NBA go back to an old school style of play, multiple offensive styles, and actual defense to boost ratings? I don't think ratings have dipped in the NBA because of style of play. I actually think that the style of play nowadays is very entertaining. It's fast-paced. The athletes have never been better. The talent pool in the NBA is straight up ridiculous. Coming up on our live show, and if you're watching this after the fact, check it out on our main Chat Sports YouTube channel. I'm going to break down my top 10 players in the NBA. To put together that list was almost impossible. Last week, I think I put together like my top 10 starting lineups in the NBA. That was very hard to put together as well. The talent pool in the NBA is so deep right now. I don't think the style of play has really been the lone reason why ratings have gone down. Why have they gone down? Really not sure. Alizé Pin, can Moses Moody or Jonathan Kuminga win Rookie of the Year? It's going to be tough because they're on a veteran-laden team with the Golden State Warriors, and they're going to have to play alongside Steph Curry, hopefully a healthy Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Andrew Wiggins. I think the Warriors with a healthy Klay Thompson are going to be very, very good. Now, how do Moses Moody or Jonathan Kuminga factor into that equation? I guess we'll see. I think they're going to get more time than I originally thought on draft night when the drafting of those two guys, more so Kuminga, kind of confused me. They really impressed me during the Summer League, and I think they do have day one value. Rakeem Sports, he watches us almost every single week here on NBA Now. The Bulls should sign Isaiah Thomas as a backup point guard and Paul Millsap if they want to contend in the playoffs. It has been said that the Bulls are interested in Millsap. I wouldn't hate Millsap going to Chicago. I think the Bulls have had a very good offseason. That would continue if they're able to sign the 35-year-old Millsap, who's still a very good, versatile forward, to a short-term contract worth little money. As far as their backup point guard, Kobe White's still on the roster. So I think Kobe White much better than Isaiah Thomas. You lose Thomas Satoransky. Does that mean more minutes for Kobe White? He can also play off ball. So I'd like to see him in the NBA this year. Where will that happen? Who knows? Because he can't really play a lick of defense. Every single week, I enjoy answering all of your questions here on the show. But if I don't answer any of your questions, or you just want to chop it up, talk NBA or NFL, give me a follow, hit me up, slide in my DMs on Twitter and Instagram. It's the same handle on both, at Chase_Senior. Shout out to the blue check marks out there because I'm somehow one of them. Did I hijack Jack's Twitter page to make myself verified? Who the hell knows? That's a secret I'll keep to myself. Robert Downey Burner, I see what you did there. Now that Isaiah Thomas isn't going to be with the Lakers, could Boston sign him as a depth scoring piece? Man, a lot of people have been talking about Isaiah Thomas to Boston for quite some time as a possible reunion. IT, back in that 2017 season, he was so great, but he's not that player any longer. And back then, he was able to really get a bucket from anywhere on the floor, which was really impressive considering he's under 6 feet tall. That hip injury, he's just not the same after that. And Isaiah Thomas, as I mentioned, can't really play any defense. So, I mean, as a training camp person, body who can compete for a roster spot potentially, but if you look at the Boston Celtics point guard situation right now, Marcus Smart is going to start. Dennis Schroeder is probably going to come in off the bench. Peyton Pritchard had a really good summer league. Where would that leave Isaiah Thomas? Fourth string? I don't know how much time that he'd get, or if you could use a roster spot elsewhere to help you out greater than IT. Do you think IT is going to play in the NBA this year? That's the question that producer Jack Lauderay just cooked up really quickly. Good job by him. Type 1 for yes, type 2 for no. I'm leaning no. I really am. I think IT's days in the NBA are numbered, if not over, but we'll see. Anish Anand, is James Harden's leadership underrated? We're talking about James Harden as a leader? I mean, in NBA training camp last year, James Harden showed up like 25 pounds overweight and basically threw all of his Houston Rockets teammates under the bus and was frequenting strip clubs and had to sit out because of COVID protocols for some time. So I'm not sure that's leadership on display. Do I think that he was doing a lot of that in part because he wanted out of Houston? Probably. I don't really blame you for wanting out of Houston because that franchise last year was a mess. I think they killed it in the draft, but I don't know about James Harden as a leader. So no, I don't think it would be underrated. Juan W102, the Bulls have one spot to fill. Who do you think would fit? I say Boogie Cousins. Bottom of the barrel signing, that would be Boogie Cousins as a depth piece at the center spot. I don't hate Paul Millsap either. There's been some rumors on that front. Any news on James Ennis to the Lakers from SM? Appreciate the question. So we're recording this during our live show on Monday, and Rajon Rondo is signing with the Lakers to be their backup point guard behind Russell Westbrook. He right now has taken their last open roster spot. So unless the Lakers make another move, there isn't a roster spot to fill to bring in a guy like James Ennis, Paul Millsap, DeMarcus Cousins, Isaiah Thomas. So as of right now, their roster is full. That could, of course, change if they do let somebody go. Fikri, what should the Bulls do to maximize their roster? Haven't they already maximized their roster? That starting five, I think, is a top 10 starting five in the league. Are they going to be able to play any defense? The question is out there, remains to be seen, but a starting five of Lonzo, DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, Patrick Williams, Nikola Vucevic with some good bench pieces, and a Kobe White coming in off the bench, I think they should make the playoffs, and if they don't, it's an unmitigated disaster. Alize Pin, should the Lakers grab Ben Simmons over Westbrook? Both can't shoot, both get their points in the paint, and Ben is a better defender than Westbrook. I would rather have Ben Simmons on my team than Russell Westbrook. I'm not sure that's a hot take or not, but if you have Ben Simmons play strictly point guard as the key facilitator, and you surround him with the pieces that the Lakers have on that team, with shooters, playmakers, and creators, I think Ben Simmons would be lethal. I think you'd see more shades of Magic Johnson. One of the big reasons he hasn't fulfilled his potential in Philadelphia is, one, he's refused to grow, expand, or develop his offensive game, but also doesn't really fit with Joel Embiid because they both occupy the paint. If you have Ben Simmons as a pass-first point guard on a team like the Lakers, I think he'd be very good and be a guy who averages 13 points, 9 rebounds, and 8 assists per night, which would be perfect for Los Angeles. I just don't see the Sixers getting back Russell Westbrook for Ben Simmons. Jeremy Destiny, anything new on Dragic to Dallas potentially? Nothing really new on that front. This has been something that we've talked a lot about here on NBA Now, and it's really something that I personally would like to see. Team up the fellow Slovenian homies in Luka Doncic and Goran Dragic. I mean, that'd be really fun, and I think Dragic would fit a need on the Mavericks roster as either a starting point guard or a backup point guard. I understand him and Jalen Brunson are both lefties. They both have similar games, but I think you can play both because I think either one of them can play off the ball. And Dragic teaming up with Luka, I'd really like to see it for a cultural standpoint. Because I do think the Mavericks have some questions with their culture as an organization and a front office, as evidenced by all of the litany of moves that they made this offseason. So name a player you want your team to go after remaining in NBA free agency. As free agency continues to wind down here, list your team and that player in the comment section down below and name a player you want your squad to go after.